Hello. Wait.
Hey, how you doing, Jordan?
Oh, hi.
You
I
good?
spaced
Hey,
out for a second. Countdown wasn't processing, but
I
everybody,
know, I
welcome
know
to
the
the Star Wars.
suspense.
Welcome back to the Star Wars Culture Podcast. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Hannah, and today the cavalry has arrived. We are going to be talking about everything Bad Batch related, the new series coming to what we just found out on May 4th, coming to Disney Plus, where we're talking all our theories, plot ideas of characters of what we think is going to happen. And we're going to be discussing this all with the Star Wars Underworld's very own Dominic Jones. He's the Clone Wars and anything Bad Batch related expert. So he'll be joining us in a little while.
Yes, and later on in the show, we're also opening up to listener call-ins. If you have any questions and want to share your Bad Batch theories with us, make sure you comment, and we could be chatting with you live. And behind the scenes, we have our producer, Nikk, TK7272. How are you, my friend?
Sorry. I am doing great. I am
So
excited today, and let's go.
So exciting. And thank you so much again for checking us out and tuning in. If you want to get to know any of us here more at the Star Wars culture, I was about to say underworld, you can find me on social media at Raeside. And you can also find Nikk, TK7272 on Instagram and Twitter and all those places as well.
Yes, and you can find me on Instagram at TBluePulsar66. And to follow more great pop culture news and content on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is at Culture Slate. And if you're loving the show, be sure to support us on Patreon as well. We post all sorts of behind the scenes and exclusive content on there that you will not get anywhere else.
It's juicy. It's good stuff.
It is. And when you sign up, you will receive exclusive merch from us. And the link will be in the description below.
So exciting. Now, Jordan, I'm so ready. Are we ready to bring Dom into the show? Are we ready to meet him?
I've been ready since last week.
Since last week. So exciting. Awesome. Hello, Dominic. Are you with us? Are you here?
Hello, I'm here.
Hello.
I think.
Yeah.
I hope. I'm not used to doing video. I'm used to audio only. So this is
yes.
I feel like I'm doing the old bit. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know.
Start. Yeah. Gotcha. Well, how are you doing today? How are you going on? What's going?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and we're coming up on Bad Batch, and that's exciting. It's good to finally have a date that we can look towards. So
yes,
yeah,
very much. So.
I heard you predicted.
We got to start with this story. This is so interesting. Yeah.
You say prediction. Really, what I did was the most cliched Star Wars fan thing ever, which is say, hey, you know what they should do? They should release a Star Wars thing on May the 4th be with you. And surprisingly, they actually, the stars aligned and they said, yeah, we'll do that this time. Because I mean, I don't think we've ever had, I mean, we had Clone Wars last year. And other than that, I don't think anything's ever on May 4th.
And not that we need receipts, but we also have you saying it. We have a recording of you saying it on your own podcast. So we're going to have a listen to it. I'm going to listen to it right now.
Now, of course, the question is when will we actually see this? And they've given the really vague spring release window. My theory, I'd sort of been thinking it would come out March, April, that kind of time. My new theory is that it will premiere 1 year to the day that the Clone Wars ended. And it will debut on May 4th, 2021. Now, got a little bit.
There's the evidence. You called it all that time ago, May the 4th. I mean, you've even got that whole theory behind it. You thought it through. Are you relishing in knowing that you could tell everyone, be like, yes, I completely predicted this? Is that a good feeling?
A little bit. Well, when the news came out, I guess last week, I sort of felt like, okay, good. I was able to sort of tap into their thinking But it's one of those things. It just kind of made sense, right? You'll have Falcon and the Winter Soldier ending that same week, and I think Disney, they don't want to. They want people going to their streaming service each and every Friday, and they don't want people to fall out of checking out Disney Plus. And Bad Batch maybe doesn't have the same reach as the Marvel stuff or the Mandalorian or Kenobi or anything like that, but it's gonna draw some audience.
It's got some people's attention. Yeah.
It's definitely got my attention, because I mean, anything Clone Wars related
is just gonna be
all in.
Yeah.
All in. Now, before we get into chatting about Bad Batch, Dom, tell us a little bit about your podcasting history. How did you get into Star Wars podcasting?
Sure. So I started listening to Star Wars podcasts 11 years ago. It was 2009. Yes. And I remember I was getting back into Star Wars at the time after spending a couple of years going, I'm a grown up. I don't need to check out these space movies for kids anymore.
Kids
relate.
Yeah. And I just sort of looked in iTunes. I'm like, there's got to be some Star Wars stuff in here. And I found a podcast that I liked. I started listening to it and really enjoyed it, and started getting into Star Wars fandom. I went to Star Wars Celebration 5 back in 2010, which was a lot of fun. That was my, that was just the best time. And when I came back, I'm like, I need to stay involved. I need to do a little bit more than just listen. And around that time, the Star Wars Underworld was getting started. And initially they were just looking for people to write for StarWarsUnderworld.com, Chris and Ben, who I think you guys might be familiar with now a little bit.
Yes, we are familiar. Yes.
They were just looking for some people to write for this new website that they were launching. I was like, I can do that. And I sent in my resume, which at the time I think consisted of babysitting and being a baseball umpire. So really
the two best
stuff.
jobs. Yes,
really,
that really applies.
Yeah, really relevant stuff. And so they were come on board. They said come on board, and I started writing. And then when they launched the podcast, I looked for ways to get involved, and eventually weaseled my way into being a regular host. And we've been going at it in sort of the current format for 7 or 8 years now. It's been a lot of fun.
And that's a decent amount of time that you are talking constantly for. Hey, so do you ever feel like you run out of things to talk about? Do you ever get that feeling?
No, never. I'm already thinking about the show we're going to do tomorrow, and I'm like, I can think of 4 things off the top of my head. I'm like, we got to get to that, and that.
Yeah.
And so, but it is wild, because there are times when I think, we're still, relatively new at this. And then I go, no, we're not. We've been doing the podcast since from time before a trilogy until after a trilogy. We covered the whole thing.
That's true.
When I was just getting back into Star Wars, I remember thinking, man, it would have been so fun to be around during one movie, just one of the movies, like Revenge of the Sith. That would have been it. Little did we know it would go through 5, and there's more on the way.
I know it's never ending, But it's all good stuff, all good content. Now I think it's time to delve in to the best part of today. Best part of the week. It's the best week. Yeah. So the Bad Batch, we got announced just a couple of days ago. We've got our release date. We've got our May 4th is when it's coming, and then it's coming every Friday from that next day. And it's so exciting. So let's just jump into a bit about the Bad Batch of what we've already known. So we got introduced to the Bad Batch officially in Star Wars Clone Wars season 7. We got those first 4 episodes, that fantastic arc to open up that season. Let's just go around, talk about our kind of first impressions of the Bad Batch as a group, and like their characters and their role and those episodes as a whole and that arc as a whole. So Dom, let's start with you. What was your first impression? What would you first think when we first introduced in season 7?
Yeah, so my introduction to the Bad Batch actually goes back a little bit further. Because
I thought it might. Yes.
I remember when they screened the unfinished versions of these episodes. They showed them at Celebration Anaheim in 2015. And I remember it was a big deal because it was basically a Clone Wars screening a year after the Clone Wars had gone off the air. So it was a
Yeah.
huge deal to get to see this at the time, and it was a lot of fun. It was sort of this great little insight into something we never thought we'd see. But I also remember sort of thinking about those episodes afterwards, going like, okay, that was fun to see. I'm glad we got to see that, but you know, I don't think that would have been my favorite arc if they produced it, because you know, the Bad Batch, they're very much, you know, they're reminiscent of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which just
Yes, that's accurate.
yeah, they never
Yeah.
and the Turtles never really were my thing. You know, I don't have anything against them, but they weren't really my thing. So when they announced season 7, I was sort of thinking, like, if they're going to redo one of the unfinished arcs, I was actually hoping they would do the other one. I was hoping they'd do the Utapau arc. And then they said, no, we're doing Bad Batch. And I was like, okay, well, let's see how it goes. And then it started airing, and we saw that first episode. And I threw up my hands in the air and said, yeah, I was wrong. This is phenomenal. This is terrific. And I love the way they used that arc to tell a really compelling story about Captain Rex, and also used it as the perfect backdoor pilot to this series. So, you know, if you'd asked me 2-3 years ago, would you like to see a Bad Batch show? I probably went, I don't know. But after having seen that arc, I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bring it on. I got to see more.
I kind of, I was just going to say, I kind of feel the same way. Just having seen just bits and pieces of the unfinished arcs on YouTube, because I've never been fortunate enough to go to Celebration and watch things like that. But
we'll get you there next year, Jordan. We'll get you there.
I'm manifesting it right now. I'm manifesting it in the Force right now.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
In the Force, yes.
I will say my Star Wars related con experience of seeing the Force Awakens trailer during Carrie Fisher's panel, like before she came out, that was amazing. But just a little side note. But
wow, that would have been an event and a half.
That's incredible.
They played the trailer like 17 times, and I was hyped all 17 times.
Yeah.
Fun fact: I still watch all the sequel trilogy trailers, like the movies haven't come out yet. But
that's so wholesome. Yeah.
Yes. So back to the Bad Batch. You know, like I said, I watched a few clips here and there, like a minute clip of them, and I was like, okay, you know, they're pretty cool, but like the show's finished, so I don't really want to invest time in these characters that I'm like not gonna get to know anything about, you know. And then Disney said season 7, and I was like, yes. And then the first arc was that one, and I was like, I love every single one of you.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Especially Riker, because he's just so like,
he's somehow relatable. Just the sudden urge of anger. Yeah, that's satisfying. Yeah.
As soon as you realize he's afraid of heights, I'm like, oh yeah, I get this guy.
Oh yes, I get you. You.
And I wouldn't want to walk across that thing either.
Yeah, it was just such a perfect way to not only start the season, but as Dom said, you know, it was a good pilot to set up their show. And I'm just ready to see what happens, especially because, you know, if you watch the trailer, it's kind of like, is it like right at the end of the Clone Wars? Is it some stuff that happened like after they left?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Yeah,
and then, you know, Palpatine said his famous "The Republic will be organized. It's the first Galactic Empire" speech, and it's like, wait a minute, what? And so it's just like, are we, you know?
Yeah, there's so many questions when it got announced. Yeah. Hey. Yeah, so when I first saw the episodes in season 7, I hadn't seen any of the like the uncut years ago, like what you saw, Dom. I hadn't seen any of that, so I was going into it completely like a Bad Batch virgin. I had no idea what was going on or who these people were. So that was satisfying, and I'm a deep Clone Wars lover. So for that to be completely like new characters, who are these people, was really satisfying, and I think it helped me like just appreciate them so much, because I'm like, this is so new and fresh. But the whole time I was watching it, I had this feeling going, they're investing a lot of time into characters that they're only going to be around for 4 episodes, really. So I don't know about you guys. Did you get that feeling of this could be a backdoor pilot? Like, come on, they're putting so much emphasis on these 4. Like, what's happening? Did you think that?
I don't. I don't think I did. I don't remember, but I don't think I did, just because sometimes I'm not thinking about those things, and I'm just kind of like, Dave Filoni's one of those creators who's just kind of like puts a lot of effort into any character that's in any of his.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that
so
is
I kind of
true.
just like, he's probably just kind of like, Dave's just
Having a
being
good
Dave.
time. Yeah.
And we might see them again later. We might not, but knowing Dave, we probably will. I just didn't know that we're getting their own show. But I'm complaining? Of course not. I want.
What about you, Dom? Did you have that kind of suspicion, or we might be getting a show out of this?
No, the show completely blindsided me when
Really?
it started being rumored. Yeah, I thought, I remember seeing those episodes, and in hindsight, it all makes perfect sense. Like you said, they invested a lot in 4 or 5 characters that we may never see again.
Yep.
And then I know there were several members of the Clone Wars writing staff that just loved the Bad Batch, and they thought they were so cool, and they wanted to do more episodes. There was supposed to be another arc in a later season of Clone Wars with the Bad Batch on Kashyyyk with Yoda, and like we may see that kind of worked into the Bad Batch perhaps. So between just the love that there was for them behind the scenes and the fact that they did invest so much, it makes perfect sense. And especially when they've seen the success of the Clone Wars, why wouldn't you want to do more? So it makes perfect sense, but I did not expect it. And that's part of the reason I'm so excited for the Bad Batch, is because if you'd given me 100 guesses to say what's the next Star Wars show, I would not have guessed the Bad Batch. We would have been going down the line of the Dexter Jetster show long before I would have ever said,
I'm still waiting for that.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
It'll happen. Yes.
I mean, it almost happened with detours, but
yes. Yeah. Well, that was a bit scarily too close. So good. So talking about how we got introduced to them, what did we think of the 4 characters? Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair. Oh, I'm blanking. What's the 4th one? Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, and
Tech.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, yeah, and then Echo. That yay. What do we think of those 4 as a dynamic? Their characters. What do we think? Do we like them?
I love every single one of them, but Wrecker supremacy.
Yeah.
I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. So yeah, but no, seriously, I like, all 4 of them have their own, unique trait that you love about them. I love how Hunter's kind of like this cool, like, whatever. Not, I wouldn't say laid back leader, but like, he's kind of
bit easygoing, but he's still got that kind of good leadership quality to him. Yeah, I really like Hunter. Right. Yeah. What about the dynamic between them all? Like what you said, Jordan, they have all these different, powers or deformities that kind of use the powers. That dynamic, I think, was actually a really good idea, and I love that whole idea of. For sure. It is actually like a problem in their production when they were produced. They were trying to be these really like super kind of clone, but it kind of didn't work out. So it's super interesting dynamic. What do you think, Dom, about this Bad Batch?
Oh yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. Whenever they're on screen, it's pretty enjoyable. What I'm hoping for the series is that they take the time to dig a little deeper with them, because for as much as I enjoy them, they each towards the end of that arc started to feel a little bit one note, like we're hitting the same points over and over again, and it was fun, but I think over 8 or 12 episodes that might get a little bit tiresome. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them go a little bit deeper on these characters, and also just put them in different situations. I think I think maybe these guys, I mean, we don't know if they're doing the Clone Wars 4-episode arc thing again. I think these guys might benefit from shorter arcs, maybe 2 or 3 parters, or a whole bunch of one-offs, because you can change the situation around them as much as possible. I don't know if you can, if you want to stay with them for 4 episodes at a time in the same location. I think you want to, get them going into different places and exploring different aspects of the galaxy. But they are a fun bunch. I mean, that's why they're getting a show, is because they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, that was kind of our introduction in Clone Wars, and then now it got announced, and then we had that trailer released. It was December, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, December release. What did we think of the trailer? It was a very action-packed, intense. A lot happened in that like minute and 24 seconds of a trailer. What were our first impressions? What did we first think when we saw the Bad Batch trailer?
I am genuinely, and this may just be me, but like I said earlier, when we started talking about it, I at first I was confused as to like when it was gonna happen. Cause like, oh, Bad Batch, and then you like saw them fighting battle droids. So it was like, oh, okay, so like we're gonna get some like end of the war stuff. And then Palpatine was like, the Republic, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So if anything, it'll be like this will be the show that, because the clone at the end of the Clone Wars, we kind of were like segueing into Revenge of the Sith, did 66, and then the show ended. But now I feel like this show, because of the trailer, I feel like this show is going to like intertwine everything between the end of the Clone Wars and like probably not the first 20 years of the war before we meet Luke Skywalker, but at least the early years of the Empire at the very least.
Definitely, yeah. It's got a bit of a peek into what kind of the timeline is and what we might be seeing. But what about you, Dom? What did you think of the trailer, of the intensity of the action?
Oh yeah, intensity is absolutely the right word.
Yeah,
that thing moves at quite the click.
Yes.
Yeah, what struck me, and this is kind of a dumb observation, but it looked like more Clone Wars. That was what.
Yeah.
So of course I'm not complaining because
no, not at all, not at all. I knew sort of what to expect in the sense that it's a Clone Wars spinoff. It should look like more Clone Wars, but then to actually see it and basically be like, oh, that's the trailer for season 6 or season 8 of the Clone Wars. That's just the continuation of this story. And the fact that it looks to be picking up on so many of the storylines that were introduced in Clone Wars and taking them beyond Revenge of the Sith, sort of kind of answering some of those questions, maybe of what happens to the clones after the Empire rises. I think that's a big question that we don't really know the answer to. Yeah. And I think we're going to see a very sort of visceral version of that tale as the characters, grapple with the fact that, the people they thought were their allies are all gone. The war is over, and now they're probably going to be used as largely a security force. They're not going to be fighting. Captain Rex or Arc Trooper 5, so I can't remember which one, asks at the end of the Umbar arc, someday this war is going to end. What happens to us then? And I think this show is going to hit that. Yeah.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
So that actually,
there's one moment in there with the clone on clone action. I'm like, I really want to know what's going on here.
Right. Well,
so
go ahead. I'm so sorry.
So do we think that with the chips, what happens to the Bad Batch and their chips? Do they have the chips? Are they deformed? Do they do?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. Does it not work because they have like different genetics? Maybe. What do we think's going on there?
I don't think they have it. I think the Kaminoans were probably like behind Dooku's back and were like, they're not really like actual clones, like they're experimental, they have all these mutations. We don't want to take the chance of something happening to them if we put an inhibitor chip in them, because we don't know how it'll affect them versus the other clones. So
that's really interesting. Yeah. So you think the Kaminoans purposely didn't put the chip inside the clones?
Like I feel like even though they had loyalty to Dooku for those, how 10 years, whatever it was, they still probably did some stuff behind his back.
Just side note, the Kaminoans are just so suspicious looking constantly. They constantly look like they have, they did have a giant secret, but just their face and the way they walk, it's like they're constantly on edge.
Yeah.
So
you would think they would have the perfect poker face with those giant eyes, but they're all walking around going, I don't know.
Don't ask me this. Yeah. Right?
So,
what, 66? I don't know.
Oh, too good. But yeah, Dom, I want your take on this. What do you think of what's happened to the Bad Batch and their chips? Do they have it? Not have it?
So
What do you think?
I think they have it. I think that I suspect they have it, but I'm kind of almost expecting the season to begin with Order 66, but for them to not be around a Jedi when it happens. And for them to maybe start hearing about this, Jedi mutiny and start, investigating it for themselves. And before they can really get to the bottom of it or discover or find a Jedi to kill, they'll run into somebody who has the answers of what exactly what went on. And my guess would be that would be Captain Rex.
I was about to say a certain captain that we love, and it doesn't have the chip at that point.
And I gotta think he's involved at some point. He's been so central to all of the clone stories over the course of the Clone Wars that I don't expect him to become a main character, but it would feel kind of wrong for him not to be involved in some way, even if that is just kind of pushing them down the right path. Maybe just telling them, hey, Echo, look into your buddy Fives and see what he knows.
Yeah, definitely.
We all know, Dave, if Ahsoka's not going to be in it, Rex is going to be in it. Like, I mean,
that's fair. Okay,
that's just what he does. Or they both might be in it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, they might throw some Ahsoka novel action in the show, halfway in.
Yeah.
You don't know. But and that kind of segues into the next question that I guess we have, or I have, this is like my favorite question. Like, what characters do we expect to see, or do we hope to see pop up in the show?
Ahsoka and Rex. I think that would be my go-to, because like what you were just mentioning, Rex has like just too much, there's too much connection, as in like it just makes sense for him maybe to be the one that talks about the chips. If the Bad Batch need to learn about it, it just makes sense there. And then I have always had this question of, we see in Rebels Ahsoka and Rex, they haven't seen each other in years, because she's like, oh, go find my friend on this planet. And then they finally meet, and then they're like, I haven't seen you in years. I'm like, why? The last time we just saw you, you just like had the most traumatic experience together. And then now you just like went apart. So not that I think this will be explored in the Bad Batch, but maybe if we saw Ahsoka and Rex, maybe we understand why they went separate ways or something, something.
I think we might, just because, they should tie up that loose end. Like, answer that question, Dave. Answer it, Dave.
Right. What happened?
But
maybe he was just out of reception that whole time. Well, actually, he kind of was.
Part of my theory of like why they had to separate was because, he didn't really bury any of his stuff. So the Empire could have expected him to be alive, and he had to somehow go find Wolf and Gregor. So
that's true.
He probably had to go report back to the Empire. And, Ahsoka can't relate, so she just, like, went into hiding while Rex, was essentially hiding in plain sight.
Interesting.
I mean, Rex go behind enemy lines. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Because, he has such an easy way to contact the Empire. So, because, as you saw in Rebels, he was like, hey, like, these guys are here. Or Wolfie.
Well, in Rebels, we saw that he knows the codes. He knows the the trooper speak that the Empire uses. So he might be some wiggle room in there for him to head on back for a little while and get some of his friends out. That would be pretty cool.
Definitely. What other characters were on your mind, Dom, about popping up in the show? Do you have any others you'd like to see?
I'm sort of hoping that the cameos that they do, sort of like the show itself, will be unexpected. They've shown us a lot of Fennec
blasting his general off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean,
what? Yeah,
you'd think that'd be a pretty big moment in your life.
Yeah,
you'd think about a lot.
Yeah,
because what if, here's a theory for you. Because Cody, we assume, still has the chip. He didn't get saved. Bad Batch, hypothetically, if they didn't have the chip, they're fine. They're like, whoa, all you guys are just overreacting about this Jedi stuff, and they're fine. but then Cody is like the villain of the show. And he's the one, like, maybe he's ordered to, like, hey, this Bad Batch group are like going off doing their own thing. You need to go find them and bring them back to the Empire or something. What if Cody's the villain? Hey.
What a turn that would be. That would
Yeah.
make a lot of sense. It would
Yeah,
make
I
a lot of
mean,
sense.
yeah, it just, and not even just Cody, but the Republic troops in general. In one show, we saw them being the heroes and on the light side, but then in this next show, they're, helping hunting down Jedi or any other enemies of the new Empire, and they're like essentially the antagonist almost.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that till you said that.
Yeah, there you go.
The tragedy of the clones, right, is that they start off as basically faceless automatons. They all look the same. They all have the same shining white armor. Then over the Clone Wars, they become individuals, and we see their armor change, and we see their personalities evolve and grow. And then in the end, they snap back to being who they were at the beginning. And I think it would be really tragic but fitting to have the main villain or one of the main villains of this show be a clone that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And Commander Cody would be a perfect example of that. I think most of the other ones have been killed off. I mean, we saw what happened to Fort Cassidy. So having it be Commander Cody, especially because he was a guy that was really well respected by everybody, right?
Yeah, definitely.
In the beginning of the Bad Batch arc, when everybody's kind of at their throats, when Rex and the other guys are ready to start fighting Wrecker, which that wouldn't have gone well. It's Hunter who's able to say, hey, we're all in this. We have to all rally around Cody. We all have to, and so to have him turn out to be the villain, it would be fittingly tragic. So that would be another clone that I've heard people mention that would be a cool one to have show up is Cutler Quain from season 2, the deserter.
Ooh.
And to have
yes.
Have him show up.
I had to just absorb that for a
second.
Yeah. So that's a good idea.
Have him, teach the Bad Batch a little lesson about, life exists outside of this this war that you've been fighting.
Yeah.
Would he have his chip?
Cutler
Quain?
Yeah, he probably would, but would it matter? Like what activates the chip? Is there a button? Or is it the words Order 66? Because it seems from the movie it's the actual words.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I think it's the words too. So if he's not around any Jedi or he's not around Sidious to hear him say it,
just go
what
on in his
happens
life.
at that point?
However, just hope nobody.
I was thinking about this. Rex and like 2 clones in the room at the end of season 7 were the only people who heard it. And it wasn't until after the rest of the ship heard him say through his radio that Order 66 has been issued. So had he not said that, would have he been the only one with his chip activated?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah. What actually activated it? Yeah. If they never heard it, would they have never triggered them?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So we've talked a little bit about what characters we're looking for. And the Fennec Shand, that she looks fantastic. I'm so excited because just seeing her in Mando, she was an absolute the coolest character in Mando. Well, that's hard to say. There's a lot of cool characters in Mandalorian. But to see her now be in Bad Batch, I think that's a fantastic little tie in there. Gotta love some little Star Wars crossovers there. That's amazing. Keep going on about kind of plot things. What other questions do we have that we think might be answered in this show?
I'd like to see some early version of the Rebel Alliance. Some like the early makings of it. There's all those deleted scenes from Revenge of the Sith where there was sort of this political movement within the Senate that was led by all of the people who would later become the leaders of the rebellion. I'd like to see maybe a more on the ground version of that. We again in Clone Wars we saw a little bit of that with Saw Gerrera and everybody on Onderon, and maybe this is something that will more be explored in Andor, and we've already seen it explored in Rebels and Rogue One. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see the Bad Batch maybe get involved in some small way with
Yeah.
the early version of the Rebels.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe we'll see young Hera and Kanan, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that could show up. And actually, and speaking of younger characters, but just going back to the Fennec Shand, what capacity do we think she going to be involved? Is she going to be against the Bad Batch, or do you think that that's a bit of a they'll kind of link up, join forces against Empire or some other force? What do you think her involvement is going to be there?
Okay, so from what we've seen in Mandalorian, she's really loyal to Boba because he like essentially brought her back to life.
Made her stomach into a machine. That's fun.
Yeah, she's more machine now than one. Okay, let me stop. But she was really loyal to him, right? So, and I mean, even though that was the reason why she was still loyal to him nonetheless. So what if we see her kind of like bounty hunting for the Empire like Boba did, and part of the reason why they're so loyal to each other and he helped her out was because there's like in common. They're
yes.
the same. I don't know words. They're in common. Anyways.
So you're saying like because she might have a connection with the Bad Batch now, like in the post Order 66, she might link up with the Bad Batch, like kind of befriend them slightly, and then later on it makes sense in Mando when she's like, "Oh, Boba, you look like some people I know, like from back then." That could actually, that's not a bad connection. Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Dom? What do you think Fennec Shand's role or capacity is going to be in the show?
I'm not expecting to see too much from her. I'm sort of expecting a one and done appearance. But I think obviously just having any sort of tie-in to Mando is exciting in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so I'm expecting a one-off, and probably it'll be something where they start off on opposite sides and then wind up working together by the time the episode is done.
Yes, definitely. Do we think this show is it actually going to answer all these questions, or could it just be the Bad Batch is going to be a really fun adventure action Wrecker blowing up things, Crosshair shooting really good shots kind of show, or do we think it's going to be both?
I think it's going to be both.
Yeah,
both. Yeah.
I gotta think it's both.
Yeah. I mean, it'll answer. I don't think it's going to answer every question, just based off the sole fact that during Disney Investors Day, they announced 13 other shows.
That's true. We've got a bit of content to cover.
Gotta spread the story around.
Yeah. So of all those shows are going to answer those questions and probably ask more or create more questions. Because that's just how Star Wars fans are.
Yeah.
Present company included.
Oh, yeah.
So true.
But yeah, I definitely think it'll be both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Star Wars is at its best when it can, tell a story that answers some questions, but also asks a whole bunch more. So for every answer you get, they ask 3 more questions. So if we find out, okay, how did the clones react to Order 66 6 months later? And then that opens up a whole other range of like, well, some clones were okay with it, others weren't. Why is that? Is it the ones who served under guys like Anakin who really encouraged their individuality that are like, hey, this is a problem. Why did we do this? And then there's the ones who served under, Luminar unduly or Mace Windu or some of those other Jedi that just sort of, didn't treat them as warmly, let's say, as Anakin Skywalker, who are sort of like,
warmly. That's whatever. A good choice. Yeah, definitely. And I think also seeing when does the clone production end? That's also another thing. When did that happen? Does that actually happen like 6 months, 12 months into, like, are we going to see that in Bad Batch, or is that years down the line? That's also another thing I thought of.
That's true. I've always read that it was like almost immediate. Like 66 happened, the war ended, stormtroopers rolled in, and then Palpatine was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm over
So
it.
yeah, what happened to all those real? I'm trying to think. Who was Luminara's commander?
Commander Gree or something like that.
Yeah. So
That sounds
yeah,
wrong.
what happened? Where are they at? Are they
Yeah.
gonna be like sitting in the corner, angry about being like decommissioned? And you're totally right, Dom. There's so many questions to be asked. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, one of the things we saw in the trailer was clones fighting clones, and maybe we'll see a split. Maybe we'll see some clones that are like, no, we are loyal to the Empire, and we'll see some other clones that say, hey, what we did wasn't right, and some kind of uprising amongst the ranks, and perhaps that's what makes Palpatine go, no more. We can just bring in some loyalists.
Yeah.
Have them
Bit
put on
too
their armor.
individual.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's all the thoughts we have for Bad Batch. Do you guys have any last comments or thoughts or ideas for what we want to see in the Bad Batch before we go into our call-in segment next?
I don't really have anything. I'm just gonna read the official like StarWars.com show's description because it gets me hype every time I read it. So I'm gonna read it out loud and let everyone else get hype. But it basically says the series follows an elite and experiment. Let me remember how to read first. The series follows the elite and experimental troopers of Clone Force 99, first introduced in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone War. Like, everything I want in Star Wars.
Rapidly changing galaxy. That's the line that makes all those questions go, wait, hang on, what's happening? What are all these people doing now?
Yep.
Very good. What any last comments on the Bad Batch, Dom? What's your last thing that you really want to see in the show?
Oh man, I'm just excited. Like I'm just along for the ride at this point. As we were talking about, I never would have expected this show, and that's why I'm excited about it, because I have no expectations for it. Like if when they do a show and it's based off of a famous character, you're like, everybody has really sort of set expectations and interpretations of these famous characters. And we know Wrecker and Tech and Hunter and Crosshair and Echo a little bit, but we don't know them that much, and so they're pretty blank canvases to play with. So I'm really excited just to see where they go and how how these characters react to some of the big events we know are coming in the galaxy.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to be excited for here. So yeah, May the 4th. I'm so happy we have a date. We can have something we can look forward to and go, that's when it is. Here we go. We're ready. So exciting. Such exciting times. Now, as we said at the start of the show, we are doing a call-in segment. So you might see it pop up on the screen. It's also in the description below. We have a link to our Zoom call where you can jump in live right now and ask us Bad Batch questions, any theories that you might have, thoughts on characters you might like to see. So be sure to check out the description box below, see if you can join that link and join us up live. While we're waiting for someone to come in and join us here, Dom, just tell us again what podcast are you part of? Let's just do another plug while we wait.
Sure. Yeah, always love a good plug. You can check out the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We're on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also find us on StarWarsUnderworld.com. And basically every week we break down the latest Star Wars news. So we're looking ahead to this week. We got some interesting rumors in store about what's coming up on the Kenobi show and Rangers of the New Republic, of all things.
Oh goodness, yes, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. I'm interested to see like what they're gonna do, considering like the original plan. Some of it's gonna get scrapped for reasons I won't mention, and actors getting fired. But what's gonna happen to the story after that?
Yeah, there's definitely lots of questions.
Yeah.
All right, we have a caller about to join us. All right. Are we live? Do we have a caller with us? Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Joel Davis.
Joel Davis. Lovely. Thank you so much for
Welcome.
joining us.
Hi,
How are you
Dominic.
today?
Dominic might know me. I'm a regular feedback listener person on the Star Wars Underworld.
I'm not used to hearing your voice, Joel. I'm used to just reading paragraphs and paragraphs of email, which are just
You have completely
terrific.
rocked Dominic's world as far as
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can talk paragraphs and paragraphs.
Hey.
We'd
Side
love to
note-
hear it.
But
I know.
I'm really excited for Bad Batch. Like, I don't know why. Like, I feel like people are underestimating this show.
for sure.
And like, there's just something like, when people talk about it, like, oh, really, Bad Batch? Like, I didn't like the Bad Batch. Or I kind of like the Bad Batch, but like, I look at the show and I look at the people behind it. First off, I just want to say it's going to be our first female head writer for an animated project.
Yes. Oh, yes. That is fantastic. Yeah.
And I forget her name. I feel bad already, but she did
Jennifer
some of my
Corbett.
favorite,
Jennifer Corbett.
Jennifer Corbin, and she did some of my favorite episodes of Resistance Season 2 with Mrs. Doza, who was one of my favorite characters of that
Amazing.
season.
Yeah.
With Tam's arc, so good hands there.
Yeah.
But also, I just feel like people are underestimating the Bad Batch because, like, have we not learned to play the long game with Star Wars characters? I mean, look at Ahsoka. I mean, we all.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yep.
That took a turn.
That's the ultimate, like, completely 180-degree turn. I mean, you go back and you read reviews of the 2008 Clone Wars movie, and then you look at the reviews for the Jedi, the Mandalorian episode that came out last year. It's like, are people even talking about the same character?
Right.
And
Right.
in a sense, they're not. I mean, the character was given the time to grow and evolve, but it's just incredible to see. So yeah, that's it, Joel, that's exactly it. That's why I'm excited for this show, because I didn't expect it. I wouldn't have picked it. And yet here we are. So let's see what they can do. They've proven time and again that they can deliver. So
Like,
I'm going to give them the shot.
And I think what I'm also excited about, it's just the world building. Like, I feel like because it's an animated series, it's got the Clone Wars style. I feel like this is going to be the show that really kind of cements this dark times era. Kind of, the rise of the Empire, transition from Republic to Empire. And, which has always been kind of my favorite era in Star Wars. Because it's like that perfect blend of prequel and original trilogy where it's like, you see the stormtroopers, you see the Darth Vader, but then you can still have separatist fleets come in and the droids still come in, and like, who's ever left? Maybe someone using Grievous's arms or his robot body parts or something.
That's it. Now, do you have any characters or actually worlds, even planets, that you would really love to see in this show in Bad Batch? What are you most looking forward to seeing?
Well, the world I want to see is one that probably will not appear in Bad Batch, and that is Exegol.
I want to know so much more than Exegol. You have no idea. So I'm going to agree with you because...
Never say never. Never say never.
I wouldn't write it out. It's possible.
Yeah.
Coruscant. I want to see Coruscant because I want them to kind of retool certain arcs of Clone Wars that we never got. And one arc I really want to see is the one underneath the Jedi Temple, because I want to see that Sith Shrine. They have been building up that Sith Shrine since the Tarkin novel back in 2013.
Yeah.
And I think it might have even been in some early drafts of the movies, but I'm not quite sure. But regardless, I want to see that Sith Shrine. I want to see them kind of retool that arc just because I want to see that.
Yeah.
I agree with you also, just because every time I watch original trilogy Empire era content, I'm like, what's going on Coruscant? And I always felt like I was the only one who thought that, because don't nobody care about what's going on Coruscant, but I do, and I want to know. I want to know right now.
Characters. Well, let's see. I feel like all the obvious ones: Ahsoka, Rex, Cody.
Yeah.
Cut McLean. I want to see Cut McLean from the
yes.
that one Grievous one. Because he's awesome. The clone with the family. That's like amazing.
Yes.
I want to see a young Moff Gideon, like Lieutenant Private Gideon.
Ooh.
If he's even alive, I don't know if he's old enough to be like. He'd probably be like in his 20s still.
Yeah.
How
yes.
old was he?
Hang on.
Giancarlo Esposito's not a young fella. He's probably in his 50s or 60s.
Okay, so like a young, he's starting out at the ISB.
Yeah.
He's just a trooper, but he got big dreams.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's a little weird.
Was it? Yeah. Imagine him trying to figure out how to take down the Bad Batch and him trying to problem solve what to do with this random group of
Exactly.
clones going off to doing their thing. Yeah.
You could have the Bad Batch train him. So that's why he's so competent when he gets his hands on the dark sabers, because he learned from Hunter and Wrecker and the crew.
Oh, but one thing I would love to see in Bad Batch, and it's something that I think Bad Batch could be perfect for, is a canon version of the Camino level from Battlefront 2. Does anyone know what that is?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Dominic knows.
Yes.
And
Yes,
that is
I've got, yeah.
And that is like the clone rebellion that the Kaminoans kind of launch against the Empire, and Boba Fett helps the Empire take it down. I don't know.
Twisted. I mean, having Boba take down clones is twisted, but it would be cool. I mean, there's a name that could possibly
Boba.
show up. I mean, that he's going to get a lot of attention at the end of the year when the book of Boba Fett comes out, but maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe we know from Clone Wars that he's pals with like Bosk, and so maybe we see them running around as youngsters, or at least Boba's a youngster in Bad Batch.
Bosk is just ageless. Bosk is he has no age. Bosk.
Boba would be maybe a young adult, right?
Yeah,
he was like a child in season 1 of the Clone Wars, and I was like, okay, you need to calm down.
His age is a little finicky. I always feel. I'm not. I mean, in that kind of 3-year time period, but I don't know. It sometimes feels finicky to me. It's one of those things. It's like I just don't question it. It's like Uncle Owen's younger, but because of that sand, it's that Tatooine sun.
It's that Tatooine climate that makes you age like 50 years and 20.
Yeah, the dry heat too can really takes it out of you.
I know. Let's see, Cad Bane. I'm curious how much Bad Batch is gonna be continuing Clone Wars arc just through the Bad Batch's eyes now, because I'm sure for synergy corporate reason, they're gonna want your Bo-Katan and the Mando stuff, because we gotta cross promote that stuff. And maybe Darth Maul, show with Darth Maul, getting Crimson Dawn back up and running again.
Yes.
And how much is gonna try to just avoid it and just sort of like, no, we're gonna maybe just focus on the clones, which I want to see, because I think the clones in Clone Wars are some of the most tragic characters ever, because, and I remember I was watching the season 7 finale of Clone Wars, and I thought to myself, here are these clones. They're bred for war, but they're like some of the most honorable, decent human beings on the planet, and they have to get mind controlled, while the Empire can hire just random nobodies off the streets and stormtroopers who are free will. They have the free will. They don't have mind control chips. Yeah. And yet stormtroopers are like the worst people ever. And they will just do it. It's like,
right?
Genocide? Okay, pay me. While the clones are like these honorable, they have to get mind controlled to do the worst thing ever.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a testament to how good Clone Wars was, because it was Clone Wars. We got to so attached to all these clones, to Rex, even even people like Jesse and Dogma, that it took seasons and seasons to get to know them and what was happening, but we get so attached to them. So it's going to be interesting what kind of angle they're going to take the Bad Batch. Yeah, very good, interesting point.
Yeah, I think it's a sleep. I think this and the Andor show are like sleeper hits in my mind.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, all eyes are on what they're doing with Mando and the Kenobi show, just because they've got all the buzz. Mando's had 2 successful seasons, and I mean, Kenobi was that felt inevitable by the time it got announced. There's been so many years of rumors and everything. So with all eyes on that, you're right. I think these ones will sneak in there and
listen,
blow some minds.
If Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't open his show and say hello there, I don't want it. Keep it.
I'm trying to petition for it to open in an Australian style, and everyone just goes, "Good day there." I'm down for that
That would be
petition.
amazing.
I'm down.
I want.
You should go through the entire series just saying different versions of hello there, but without actually saying hello there. Like, hi there, hello,
Yes.
hey there,
I want
goodbye,
something. I want something more obscure. I want someone to call Darth Vader a learner, not a Padawan, a learner. Because I just find that like that line funny. Like before the word Padawan was invented, it's like before you, but the learner. Now I am the master.
Yes.
along
That's so
those
true.
along those same lines, we should get Obi-Wan to call Vader Darth, just for old time's sake. Because I mean, who calls anybody Darth anymore?
Darth. Yeah, that's a good
Darth.
point.
Yeah.
The good first name back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, could you call the baby Darth though? I don't know. If you look at an infant, go, Darth.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what happened when Sidious was born. They're like, oh yeah, this is a Darth right here.
That's basically the plot of Acolyte. It's just
It's just
Palpatine.
how, yeah.
Anyway,
Everybody thinks it's Darth Plagueis. No, it's Palpatine, the kindergarten year.
Can I
Yes.
also say real quick? I love your Last Jedi poster.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yes, this is fantastic backdrop.
As a person who defends the Last Jedi to no ends on Twitter and TikTok, I just want to say that I, as a fellow sequel trilogy fan, appreciate you.
Oh, well, that's just coincidence. I just happen to be in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
I just happen to have my lightsabers here too.
I'm in the rebel base.
Yeah, just happen to be in the rebel base.
That's where I hang out most of the time. That Last Jedi poster, man, that's the best poster they did for the last 5 movies. That thing is incredible.
I think it feels very Star Wars, like the way the lightsaber shines. Very Star Wars.
Yeah, it looks cool. Just
all right, Joel.
Alrighty.
Any other questions?
So much, Joel.
No, that was it. I just wanted to talk about Bad Batch.
It's a good time. Well, thank you so much for sharing your excitement. It's getting us hyped too, hearing how you hyped up. So thank you so much.
It's so nice to have met you.
Yes,
thank you
so much.
Thanks for calling in, Joel. I look forward to your next email.
It will probably be many paragraphs long. All right.
Thanks so much, Joel.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Yeah.
That's a good, that was a great poster. That was, and I love how he didn't even plan that. I thought he would have,
out beautifully. I remember how they revealed that poster too. It was at Celebration Orlando. And they were doing the big panel, and Ryan Johnson goes, yeah, let's show them something new. And the whole crowd starts getting hyped up for the trailer, thinking like, oh yeah, we're about to see the trailer. And then he goes, it's the poster. And literally the audience went, oh. And then they go to show the poster, and they show it, and they start zoomed in on Rey, and then they zoom out to show Luke and Kylo behind her. And the place went from awe to just bonkers.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
So we do actually have another caller with us named Dr. Holocron. Can you hear us, friend?
Are we here?
I can.
Hello.
Hello. Now, do you have some Bad Batch questions or thoughts to share with us?
I actually do, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
One that I cannot wait. 2 that May 4th can't come soon enough.
Yeah. Yes.
Every year I feel the same way.
Yeah, and my other thought is I'm really interested to see how much of a Clone Wars sequel this show ends up being, because it looks like, if you look at some of the shots in that trailer, it looks like you see like Zygaria, you see like Camino. I think you'll even see like Pantora in maybe a shot or 2. There's a lot of Clone Wars stuff that's being touched up on. A lot of seemingly abandoned like plot points and plot threads that look like are finally going to be resolved in this show. Of course, out of order, because that's what Star Wars does. But what can you do? But yeah, it looks really interesting. I'm really excited to see how many of those storylines get picked up on. And there is one in particular that I'm really hoping for, and I really want to see picked up on. And given that this show is focused on clones and cloning and Camino and everything, I really hope we finally find out what the hell happened with the Zilla Beast.
Oh, yes. That needs to be answered. Oh my goodness.
I need answers, and I need them now.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's literally the biggest dangling plot thread that they've got out there. I mean, they end they end that two-parter back in what was that, season 2?
Yep.
I think they end that with just like the most sinister, like, yes, we're gonna clone the beast, and then nothing.
Yeah.
And then Kylo fights one in one of the comics, but I don't know if that has to do with necessarily the one they captured or anything. But I mean, we know there are more Zillow beasts out there, but what happened to that whole plot that Palpatine had? Like, honestly, this is a crazy pipe dream I have, but I had before episode 9 came out. What if, like, I was hoping, like, what if we got to episode 9 and we got to Palpatine's whole world and we had like an army of Zillow beasts fighting for it, you know?
That's all that was on Exegol. It was just
I think if Dave Filoni had been allowed to make the sequel trilogy, that probably would have happened, just because he would want to make his Star Wars Godzilla crossover, in the live action films.
Or even better, what if instead of into a clone of his own body, Palpatine transferred his mind into the body of a
Zillow beast. And Palpatine's voice coming out of a Zillow beast would just be a sight to see.
Yeah.
Hey, you are a Zillow beast.
I just want to know
we need
just
this.
because Palpatine was like, we're gonna clone and use it for armor, and clearly that did not work.
Yeah, it's like,
that
Stormtrooper armor got worse.
That's Stormtrooper armor.
Well,
oh man, how cool would it have been if the Sith troopers had that armor on? Like
I was just about to say that, because it kind of looks like the same kind of pattern almost.
Yeah.
We assume, though, that he was talking about clone armor. I mean, what if the Death Star is made out of that stuff? That's why the only way to knock it out is to find that little flaw that Galen built in.
Yeah.
You can't actually shoot it down because it's made of Zillow scales.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Throwing it out there. You never know. Probably not, but maybe.
That opens up another question. Which is more durable, Zillow beast scales or Beskar?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Season 3 of The Mandalorian comes out next year. We can't think that far ahead.
We need the answer today.
Oh, so good. Now, Dr. Holocron, is there any other characters that you're really looking forward to seeing in the Bad Batch? Who are you most looking forward to understanding more?
I would have to say Meeber Gascon.
What a choice that is.
Yeah, such a niche. Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, you've already got Steven Stanton in there as Tarkin, so why not have him voice Gascon too?
I think Steven would like nothing more than to reprise his role as Gascon. I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that's his favorite part that he's ever played. I mean, he's around. I don't know. Could someone like Meeber Gascon thrive in the Empire? I don't know.
And maybe he has like his own arc where he realizes that the Republic isn't what he thought he was, and he like defects to the rebellion or something.
I would think he would have to be a defector. He's got to go sign up with Mon Mothma. I feel like she'd be more open.
Imagine if we saw Gascon working with the Resistance in episode 9.
I mean, we don't know. He wasn't there. There's so many ships in that scene. He could have been.
I mean, we saw a species similar looking to his species in Canto Bight. Like there was a similar looking species there among the.
It was like the crap stealer, right?
Yes,
yeah. So why not?
Yeah. I want a whole arc about this now.
And again, we already had Babu Frick in that movie. I don't know if Gascon could have topped him, but.
Maybe they're friends. Maybe they're not.
That would have been too much star power. I feel like it would have been too. No, it was Rey and Finn and Poe's story, and they didn't want to take away from that, so that's why they
Gascon
didn't
and Babu Frick, man.
Yeah. Well, in the spirit of Godzilla versus King Kong, maybe the next movie after Rogue Squadron should be Gascon versus Babu, and we just these two go at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the real duel of the fates right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, this is a fun little fact. Prior to the release of episode 9, when we first found out about Babu Frick, and I first saw that picture of him, like the small old dude with the like facial hair and everything, fixing up droids. A part of me was kind of hoping that he would, because it's episode 9 in the last of the Skywalker saga, I was kind of hoping he would be voiced by George Lucas.
Oh, that would have been good.
Imagine. Oh, great Easter egg.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I don't know how he would pull that kind of voice off.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. I don't know.
Imagine Baby Frig with George's voice. We gotta fix C3PO, I guess so. No, that's that's interesting thought.
Yeah, I'm just sad they didn't get George to voice his character in the Clone Wars when they had what's his name, Baron Papanoida from season 4.
Yeah.
I think they should have had him.
Yes.
Should have brought him in.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
see, the thing was, George was like watching over Dave and like helping him with the Clone Wars. I don't know why he wasn't just like, okay, I'm gonna voice my own character now.
He's like, this is my time to shine. He
Yeah,
always
so good.
secretly wanted to be an actor.
yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
they had all those different planets fighting with them at the Battle of Exegol. Like you could have had like the Pantoran army and had Papanoida there leading them. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm surprised in episode 9 we didn't get more cutaways to the different ships to see,
Yeah.
the characters from Resistance or even Rebels. Could have had Mandalorians. I know because of the time jump, it's not as easy to do as say the same scene in Endgame when all the heroes show up.
Yeah, they could even had like Crimson Dawn there, led by Kyros.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, the first order, the final order would have been shaking in their boots if the Colossus just popped out of hyperspace.
Yes.
So good. So good. Well, Dr. Holocron, thank you so much for your questions. Any last words of Bad Batch that you want to let us know?
I'll say that I hope Wrecker keeps up his physical regimen, and we get to see him pressing more gaunt trades in the future.
Yeah, yes. While eating that, not a turkey leg, what would it be?
Tipia.
A Ronto wrap. Oh yeah, Tipia. Yes, definitely. Hope we see more of that. Well, thank you so much for your questions and your excitement. It makes us so hyped as well, hearing you guys talk about it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you. Long live the Zillibees.
So good. That never got answered, did it? The Zilla piece.
just-
That is.
It's left out there floating, nebulous,
Yeah, very interesting. So many
someday.
questions.
Maybe someday.
Someday.
Maybe that'll be Dave Filoni's like final farewell at Lucasfilm when he's ready to retire. He'll be like, my last act will be to do the Zillo Beast 4 episode extravaganza on Disney Plus.
That sounds so good. All right, we have our next caller with us. Is it Claire?
Hi.
Claire, hello.
Hi, I am actually unmuted. How are you doing?
Hello
there.
Hello there. Good day there. I'm gonna start
Hi,
with
Dominic.
Hey, Claire.
that.
Nice
How
to
are
see you
going?
again.
How are you going?
I'm going well. I've been sitting here watching the podcast for the last hour. All I want, I just like the biggest thing that I want to see from this show. I'm going to create my own topic. The biggest thing that I want to see from this show specifically is the actual transition from clones to regular people. Like that's all. I want to know what happened to all of the clones, because in Rebels, I have not seen all of Rebels. I'm finishing season 2 now.
Okay, cool.
3
Try not to
tomorrow.
spoil that. Yeah.
Anyway, one of the biggest things that like I've wondered this for years is what happened, because I originally thought that all of the stormtroopers were clones, but they're not. So at what point in that 17-year it's 17 years, right?
Between Clone Wars
Or no, between episode 3 and episode 4.
It's
17 years?
19.
and
19?
yeah.
Okay, 19
Yeah, it's
years.
like 1920.
Okay. At what point in those 19 years did we make the transition from clone troopers to stormtroopers? Like, when did the clones get erased or killed off? What happened to the clone troopers? That's what I want to know. Like, did Palpatine like just get rid of them? Like, and if that's the case, and it is the case as of like episode 4, that they are no longer there, what was the point of them becoming the stormtroopers in the first place? Or is it just to kill the Jedi? Is that what it is? What do you guys think?
That's a really good question. And I think also, like what you were saying, did it happen in a day? Did they just, all the clones get an announcement, pack up your black under armor leotards and you can go now? Was it just in a day thing, or was it phased out? Yeah, it's a good question. And I think we will see parts of it explored in Bad Batch. But I'm hoping we see a whole bunch more of it. Yeah. What do you think, Dom?
I feel like if the show goes on for more than one season, then they'll have to address this. If Bad Batch is kind of a one and done thing, then I think there's too much going on in too short a time frame to answer that question in any depth. Like they can maybe sort of allude to what happens. But if the show runs 2, 3, 4 seasons, then I think at some point you have to start showing some of the new recruits. But it's interesting the clones being stormtroopers and stormtroopers being clones. Like I feel like the story there has changed over the years. Like obviously in the original trilogy, as the original trilogy came out, they were recruits. They were just regular old Imperial soldiers. They're all different people under those helmets. But I feel like from about the time of Attack of the Clones until Star Wars Rebels started coming out, I feel like there was a bit of a shift towards Lucasfilm sort of saying like, no, the stormtroopers are clones. And there's, I think I even remember Dave Filoni talking about it, in that sort of 2010-ish era. But they've said definitively now it's clones become recruits at some point in there. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it out.
Yeah.
So Disney has said that the people that are in the stormtrooper outfits are not clones.
Well, I don't know if we've seen in different stories where characters are, like in books and stuff, and I think in Rebels to an extent we see them, and so they get sort of phased in and out. The clones get phased out at some point. We just don't know why that happens. And
well, like, do you know how many episodes Bad Batch is? Have they released? Is it 8 episodes? Is it
weird? I was looking for this last week, and there's nowhere else have they said anything. They don't say on StarWars.com. I couldn't find a link to a Dave Filoni interview where he says it, anything. I was assuming 12 because that's what they did with Clone Wars last season. But I mean, we've just seen two seasons of Mando that are 8 episodes. So
yeah,
who knows? Because
my thinking is along the same lines as you, Dominic, that if there's only 8 episodes, what are they going to do? 4 2-episode arcs, 2 4-episode arcs, just 1 arc? Are they just going to do the story that they showed everybody at Celebration a couple years ago? Is that all we're getting? I have not seen the trailer. I don't think I've seen the trailer. The trailer came out a couple
December, yeah.
So I don't know if I've seen it or not. I don't remember it, which is fine. More surprises for me.
Yeah. Secrets, right?
Hey, I think I saw it and I was just like, oh, that's really cool. I watched it, forgot it, and was like, okay. I mean, I moved in December, so it's been.
You had other things to think about.
Yeah, I had other things. I had to move into this room that I have here that's all colorful behind me, like my shelf.
You didn't have time to unpack the trailer in your spare time.
You were too busy unpacking your actual belongings.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm excited to see what they do with it, but I don't think they're going to screw it up. I know that like a lot of people were, and the success and how good Mandalorian is gives me a lot of hope. I have obviously over the last couple of years been a little bit disappointed with Star Wars from time to time. Now, I will say yet again, Dominic, you might know what I'm about to say.
I have a feeling. I have
Rise of Skywalker.
But
You have a bad feeling about this? Well, I'm sorry to say this, but The Rise of Skywalker is the best movie of all time, and it makes The Last Jedi great. I'm sure Jordan will appreciate that.
Look, My feelings on the sequel trilogy get super complicated super fast. We do not have enough time left in this episode to
No.
discuss those.
To unpack
That's
that.
gonna be
Ooh,
like
yeah.
a two-parter because like I am like we'll just have to see. Y'all guys are just gonna have to tune in next time
Yeah.
or whenever we have this topic because
We need a pros and cons list, really.
my
We'll do it in
I'm with you,
December when
Jordan.
it's been 2 years since Tyros, and then we'll have like an unpacked episode with like 1,000 people on, and I will talk for 5 hours again on why The Rise of Skywalker is the best movie of all time.
We can relive our podcast from December 2019 where we had
It was
about
great.
we had about 20 people on and you and I
it was
just
great.
argued. It was just the two of us.
yeah.
That's the point. I like that. So they have not given any information about episode number, season number. Do you think it's gonna do you think it's gonna be like WandaVision is, like just one season leading into something else? Do we know about like there's a Rebels sequel? Was that canned too? I know that they've announced so many things and I don't know what is what. Do we know if there's like how many seasons is the show going to be? What's your opinion, or what's your okay.
My feeling is that we'll get like 12 episodes again, like
12. Okay.
And my feeling is that they'll do 2-3 seasons. I don't think it's leading to anything necessarily. As I think the Bad Batch are just going to they're going to get to play in this era kind of by themselves for the time being. And as for a Rebels sequel, the rumblings, the rumors that are out there that people have posted seem to be that the Ahsoka show, the live action one that's going to tie into Mando, that's what the Rebel sequel would have been, and that's why they are allegedly casting live action.
Yes, ooh, so many rumors there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a couple seasons of just good, fun, Bad Batch action. What's happening after, and then just enjoy it. It's not going to go anywhere. Yeah.
I am very excited.
Good times. Yeah, it's so exciting. Well, thank you so much for jumping on the call, Claire.
Yeah,
It's been
absolutely.
a fun chat.
Yeah.
Any last words of the Bad Batch? What are you most excited for? Favorite character to see?
Favorite character to see? I honestly, I want to see the Darksaber a little bit more, and I don't think that's gonna be in the show, but one can hope.
Yeah,
George Lucas's
weird
character.
things have happened.
George Lucas's character coming back.
Baron Papanoid. This is the second Baron Papanoid around.
Yeah.
Who does that?
I don't know. Baby Kylo Ren wasn't born yet, but anything can happen, right?
Yeah, weird stuff.
It is.
We could
It
see
is.
Baby Kylo in the Mandalorian because he's like 5.
That's true.
Yeah,
He's like 5.
I'm down for that. No, I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what happens on May 4th. I'm ecstatic. And I hope that we get at least another trailer and maybe an announcement if there's going to be 12 or 8 episodes. I hope it's more than 12. I hope it's many seasons. I hope this show goes on forever. Honestly, that they can do whatever they want. I mean, there's so much that they could do with it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your excitement and input and intriguing theories. Lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Oh, second Papanoida.
We have
all right.
One last caller joining us.
All right. Now, who have we got? Are you with us live? Can you hear us?
So it's a great moment in Zoom calls when you wait for the the little dot. The person's there, but they're not actually there.
Yeah, you got to do the unmute, show the video. Yeah, go through the works.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there. We'll complete.
Yeah, we all do it.
Yeah, complete that.
Who have we got with us? What's your name?
I'm I'm gonna say just Dex because I don't think you're gonna be able to say my actual name, but that's fine by me.
Hey, that's no
Jordan
problem.
That's so
should-
good. Thank you so much for being here. Now, do you have any Bad Batch questions or theories you want to chat with us? What are your thoughts on the new show?
I personally haven't finished watching the Clone middle of it. However, I know how it ends and everything because I already, watched all the movies and everything.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, it's always been quite odd for me how they treat the whole "we're breeding people to die" thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're like supposed to be. Oops, sorry. They're supposed to be like the Empire is like, we are the bad guys. However, the Republic is like, we're the good guys. Yet we are breeding people to go and die.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
straight
There's a
up,
bit
and
of
they
an-
don't shame.
Yeah, there's a bit of an ethical
You know,
debate there of what's right, what is actually the right decision and choice. Yeah,
The whole
definitely.
empire is just a giant ethical debate.
There's a lot of questions to
That's true.
ask about what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But of
So
course,
are you
all
are
of
you
this
looking
began under the Republic too. So you're
Well,
sort of
yeah.
left, that's sort of the, one of the really interesting things about the prequel era is as a whole, and I count Bad Batch as kind of part of the prequel era, is that, the rise of the Empire wasn't the flipping of a switch. It wasn't just Palpatine making his declaration.
Yeah.
There was so many things leading up to it to the point where he could do that. And, this whole, breeding people for war. I mean, that's a pretty awful thing to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so and the Jedi and everybody, they're just like, yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's just have a
Yeah. So why not explore that some more in this show and have these characters grapple with that fact? We saw it a little bit with Captain Rex in the later seasons. I won't spoil it for you, but he
He's
does
okay.
sort of,
Yeah,
kind
we're
of
gonna talk
question.
about why you haven't finished the Clone Wars either. Because we're mutuals on TikTok.
It's a long
I
show.
didn't recognize you.
Listen,
Talk all the time, and you telling me to my face that you didn't finish the Clone Wars. We're gonna speak after
Listen,
the show.
I have school. Leave me alone.
It's a long show. A lot happens.
It's
A lot
over
Don't
happens.
100
worry.
episodes. You take your time, enjoy
Yeah.
it, savor it.
Yes,
Yes.
savor it.
Don't
Yeah.
encourage him. No, I'm kidding.
Listen, I finished the Mandalorian, all of the Mandalorian, in like 2 days. I can finish this in like a week if I wanted to, but I just haven't had the time. So just
Also,
Hey, you know
also,
what?
a season,
we
two
all have
seasons
our-
of The Mandalorian is less episodes than one season of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So go
That's
at your own
well,
pace.
yeah.
Part of me blames Cartoon Network / Warner Brothers because when they greenlight shows, they're like 30 episodes. Do it now.
Yeah. We want more. So
Yeah.
good. Now, what else about Bad Batch are you looking forward most to seeing? So characters, plot lines, what are you looking forward to?
Well, like I was saying, over the whole breed people to die with, I kind of want to see these remaining clones being like, okay, first of all, we were born for the sole purpose of going to war and most possibly dying. So our whole purpose in life from the very beginning is to just be pawns, if you want to put it that way. And also the whole they have mutations part, they're like consider quote unquote the Bad Batch and all that kind of stuff. I want to see them like come to grasp with the fact that in a sense they were pushed aside because of something they couldn't control and something they were just born with. So it's just like the whole coming up to terms with who you are, where you come from, like that kind of human development that in theory a clone shouldn't really have because it's a clone, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like I would like to see like more of a human side to the clones than you get normally, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great point that you touch on that. It's very interesting how it's a deformity or something that makes them different or not not perfect, not a perfect clone. That is actually that they have learned to use as their superpower, or as their, their ability that they can use to make good. And it's definitely interesting, that whole, how human are they going to become and go on this journey of finding kind of who they are, and especially in in the, like what the description says, it's an ever-changing, rapidly changing galaxy. So discovering who they are as the Bad Batch, it's going to be an interesting question that I think will get answered. I think we'll see that as an interesting journey.
I hope so.
I mean, that question is so central to Star Wars that if they didn't tackle it a little bit, I'd be very surprised and be a little bit disappointed. I mean, you look at all of the trilogies, all of the movies, all of the shows we've gotten up until this point, it's all about people finding themselves and finding who they really are. And even with the clones, I mean, Captain Rex, again, to go back to him, he's the sort of the ultimate example up until this point of somebody who, he should have just been another face in the crowd, but he wound up being, one of the most important characters in this era. And and I fully expect to see that for Wrecker and Hunter and Crosshair and Tech and Echo and the whole, any other clones that they pick up along the way.
Definitely. Now, do you have any favorite characters going into the show? Any characters you want to see specifically?
I will be fully honest, and Jordan, please don't kill me. So far, while watching the Clone Wars, my favorite character has been Kit Fisto. However, sadly,
yes,
very much
dead. Well, actually, that's a good point. But still, in general, is he one of like a favorite character then? That's a niche,
for me.
Niche
Hey, he's got a great
I'm
spot.
not mad at anybody who chooses Kit Fisto as their favorite character, but the correct answer is Rex, Obi-Wan, or Ahsoka, but it's fine.
Listen, I have my personal choices. But I going in, I kind of don't want to have any favoritisms because then I get heartbroken when they die. So I rather just wait for the show to just come out and be like, okay, you're gonna be my
just absorb. Just absorb it all.
It's funny because to that point about not getting attached to characters because you get your heart broken when they die. Obviously, I just said Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters. During Rebels, when she's gonna have that confrontation with Darth Vader, I'm like, he's gonna kill her, isn't she? Isn't he? Like, I was so stressed out during the whole episode, and was stressed out until the next season where you see her again in the World Between Worlds.
There's I mean, I don't know if you've seen Rebels, but there's a lot happens. Like with all those connections. Very good.
I'm going to. My girlfriend is to do it.
So good. It's always better, when you're watching it with someone. That's always a good time too, because you can debrief and you got to unpack everything together. So good, so good. Any other Star Wars related questions or Bad Batch thoughts or theories that you have to share?
I'm all good, thank you.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing your thoughts with us. Really, very interesting.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And don't worry, we're going to talk about you not finishing the Clone Wars later. So.
We're going to talk about your chosen outfit later too. Okay.
My what?
Your choices in outfits.
Oh yeah, when I was telling you earlier before we recorded, one of my friends was giving me crap about my blue shirt. This is him trying to act like he's my
Hello.
Oh, too good.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. So much fun. Thank you for chatting.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Later.
Wow.
That was great.
So many thoughts. My brain is just full of all these ideas now. Cody being the villain. What if he's the one in charge of everything? The Zelo Beast could come back, and what if the Bad Batch have to kill the Zelo Beast?
Now there's a fight.
Here's my other question. And then we're gonna wrap up. Are we gonna see some Vader? Maybe.
Ooh.
And that they made that character model. That guy, it exists. They made it for the final scene. It wouldn't be that tough to bring it back.
I'm just saying, James Earl Jones, where you at?
And what you up to?
Yeah.
think he's
It's
enjoying
been
his
a bit
retirement.
quiet.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder.
definitely.
Okay, so speaking of that, was he the one who recorded Vader's voice line in Kylo Ren's head?
Yes.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that for him.
Mhm. I mean, you had to have Vader in that
Yeah.
movie, even just for that one line. You had to.
Inside your head. That's all he said was inside your head.
Yeah.
I wonder how much money he got.
I was about to say, how much would have that
How much money did
line
James
be?
Earl Jones get for saying 3 words in the last Star Wars movie?
I mean, you can look up how much Mark Hamill was paid for his cameo in The Force Awakens, and if it's anything approaching that amount,
Yeah.
I think
That-
James Earl Jones he probably threw a pretty
Imagine
sweet
being
party.
Mark Hamill, and for like 3 years after Disney acquires the franchise, you have to like keep quiet because everyone's like, "Where's Luke?" And you have to be like,
Like, ha. Don't know.
Yeah.
Start sweating, dabs the sweat off his forehead.
Yeah. But all that being said, we're gonna bring it to a close. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this special episode of Star Wars Culture. And again, thank you, Dominic, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun.
Yes,
This was a
I
good
agree.
time.
Where do people go if they want to find you on social media?
Sure. You can follow me at DominicJ25 on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can check out at the SWU if you want to find the podcast.
A podcast.
Awesome.
A podcast or a Star Wars podcast?
A Star Wars podcast.
there
Star
we
Wars
go.
Underworld podcast.
Well, hey, very good. Very good.
But yeah, so we will
Thank
be
you so
back.
much. Yeah. Thank you, Dom.
Thank you,
we'll
Mo.
be
Thank you,
back
Mo.
next Wednesday on the 10th of March at the same time of 4 p.m. PST and 7 p.m. EST Pacific and Eastern. And on Thursday the 11th, if you're in Australia, at 11 a.m. at AEST. What does AEST stand for, Hannah?
That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it's just
Awesome.
like your Eastern Time, but we have to put Australia in front of it.
Great, love it. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you are watching us on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to follow for more great Culture Slate content, be sure to check out the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok even, all at Culture Slate. And don't forget to check out that Patreon link down the bottom too. We've got exclusive content, juicy, interesting, fantastic stuff happens over there. And you will get a free piece of merch if you do sign up with us today. That is it for this week. Thank you again so much, Dom, for joining us. It was so much fun. And of course, may the Force be with you.
Always.